In 1916, there was a revolt against the Russian Empire. The Russian reaction was massive. By February of the next year, the revolt had been crushed and thousands had fled to China. However, in my coverage of this revolt, there was a statistic that I omitted from that video. The idea that 40% of the population of Kyrgyzstan died in that revolt. See, that statistic was so unbelievably high that I struggled to believe it. And that's why I just didn't bother putting it in the video just in case. Now I want to do some research and find out if this statistic is actually correct or not. After looking on Google, I found exactly 3 sources claiming this statistic. Number 1, Wikipedia. Number 2, plagiarisms of Wikipedia. Number 3, a book. This book was published in 1954. It was the first academic study on the Central Asian Revolt. For decades, the only academic study on the Central Asian Revolt. It was published in 1954, re-released in the 2010s, and the foreword was actually written for the re-release in the 2010s. Google Books only gives me a limited 24-page preview. However, from what I've read, the book appears to be a relatively impartial source. I can't find any bias in the book. However, the foreword, on the other hand, the foreword is extremely biased, okay? It uses the words horrific, ghastly. Go and read the foreword. I've linked it in the description. I've shown it on screen now. Okay, there is absolutely no way that you can convince me that whoever wrote this foreword is an impartial source. And here's the thing, the only place in the book where it said the 40% statistic was that foreword. The book itself, the first academic study on the Central Asian Revolt, didn't include the foreword, which is why the 40% statistic is coming from a biased source. However, it does in fact cite a source for this. I checked the source, and while I'm not sure if I could find it or not, I found something with a similar title to said source. However, I don't know if it is the source that I'm looking for. I checked it, I had it all translated from Russian to English. I couldn't find the 40% statistic anywhere. I don't know if I got the correct source or if I got the wrong one or what happened. Either way, we can't definitively verify this claim, which, given the other things I've read on this foreword, was most likely cherry-picked to be a high number. The other problem I have with the foreword is that the foreword says, this is the number of people who died in the revolt, no questions asked. And I'm like, what? We don't know how many people died in the revolt. There are estimates, but those estimates aren't always correct. The lowest estimate is 100,000 to 270,000, and then there's another one that says 500,000, which is almost certainly not true. So this foreword has effectively picked the highest possible estimate that is in any way believable. This isn't a disrespect to the entire book seems good, but this foreword is not it. So while we can't objectively verify that this 40% statistic is correct, we can, however, look at the demographics and see how many ethnic Kyrgyz were there. Sorry if I'm completely mispronouncing Kyrgyzstan or Kyrgyz or whatever. According to the 1897 census in Russia, there were 200,000 people who spoke Kyrgyz as their native language. Now, while native language is different to ethnicity, it's the closest we have. I think 1897 was the last Russian census before World War I. Or there might have been one in 1913, but I seem to remember reading that there was another census in 1913, but I cannot possibly find it, so I must have been imagining that. But let's say the population grows by what, 10, 15,000 by 1916? Yeah, I would say it's realistic that 40% of them died in the revolt. Even the lowest estimate, 100,000 people, it's possible that 40% could have died during the revolt. And with a high estimate, 270,000, yeah, easily 40% of the people died. Even a more middle ground estimate, like 190,000 people, maybe 200,000, it's quite plausible, I think, that 40% of the Kyrgyz population died in the revolt. You know, the revolution did happen in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. So this 40% of the people died during the 1916 Central Asian Revolt is a plausible statistic. However, we can't verify it. It definitely comes from a biased source. However, I cannot find it in the original source that it cites. However, it's perfectly possible that I just haven't been able to find the original source and I just found something with a similar title. If you can find this original source, or find something else that verifies it, then please tell me in the comments, because I want to know if this is correct.